welcome to another episode of Project Geospatial. I'm Mason Rothman, and here I'm today with Andy Deering. And Andy, tell me a little bit about yourself.
Name's Andy Deering, and I am president of Spatial STL Advisors. Have been in the geospatial industry for over 15 years now, and a native of St. Louis.
What is the STL Advisors? What is that exactly?
It's just a small consulting firm that I run, and just really helping out with just geospatial, just experiences that I've had and working with industry or academia or others.
And how many years has that been going for?
It's actually only been a few months.
Oh, okay.
Not too long. Yeah,
this is excellent.
Yeah,
actually,
exactly.
Something new. Okay.
Yeah. Yep. Absolutely.
Okay, excellent. And so, what are you up to these days?
Well, the big initiative that we have going on is a lot of work in and around St. Louis. So part of the work that we're doing here is starting to build and really exemplify and grow the geospatial ecosystem that we have that's been here. The interesting thing, and as you've probably heard or seen with some of the GeoInt work GeoInt and USGIF work that's been done here, is geospatial has been here for some time through NGA, DMA, and all the way back through.
It's got a history.
It does have a history, but nobody talked about it for many, many years. And so, starting with Director Long to Director Cardillo to now Admiral Sharp, they have all done a great job of starting to set up more public and private partnerships, transparency with the community, and especially here in St. Louis, as they're starting to plant their seed in their next headquarters here in the N2W movement. And so that's opened up a lot of organizations talking about geospatial, not just them, about advancements in technologies that are going on here and a lot of ways that we can collaborate. And we found that we have a lot of great stuff here in St. Louis around geospatial and location technologies.
It was interesting because yesterday, did you catch Admiral Sharp's briefing yesterday? And what were the percentages that he broke out? I think it was 20 and 20 for the unclassified. This is unheard of actually in the government classified space. So. Yeah,
they were very intentional, and starting with Director Cardillo, starting to say that to it being followed through in their final plans as they develop that. They're going to have to do more things, and it's not that they don't do unclassified things right now. They do quite a bit, but they're in a sealed off fortress of some sorts, and this is going to be more inviting to where they can learn and we can collaborate together more here, and understanding what innovative technologies are out there, and then a place where they can bring those in and test them and not be a cumbersome process.
Excellent. Now, do you live in St. Louis? Or?
I do. I'm a St. Louis native. I've been in St. Louis since I went to St. Louis University in the late 90s.
You're a native.
Yes, I'm a native. But grew up as a Missouri resident and kind of stayed around here.
Excellent. So just how did you get? So there's a lot of kids in St. Louis that are going to be starting down this road, etc. And going down the education path. How did you get into the geospatial world?
In a very non-traditional manner. So what I actually at St. Louis University studied and I was a pilot. So the interesting thing about it was we were using geographical information every single day as we were navigating from one place to another or working on some of our commercial certificates. I graduated right around the 9/11 timeframe, and so obviously the aeronautical industry was very much in turmoil at that point in time. And so there was actually openings to work with organizations around here that were doing work with NGA. So NGA at that point in time was transforming their aeronautical charts from paper charts and actually how they created them with stick up and Mylar and put all the sheets together and shot them with a camera, to actually taking the digital information that they were capturing to then creating automated data-driven products. And they were using Esri technology, and at that point in time there really hadn't been a solution built to take that. The way that aeronautical highways in the sky are built it's not spatial in aspect, and we were basically transforming those into a geospatial system and using a geographic information system to do that, and then automating the production of those, and then to be able to take those and put those into iPads and automated digital charts. So that was a great, effort that was done in the early 2000s, and I got brought on to a firm that was helping do that. They wanted smart pilots and taught them GIS. So for the folks that are out there that are looking, there's traditional pathways that are getting built, and there's definitely many non-traditional pathways of getting into the location industry, and where it takes your talents, whether it be development or coding, or it creates other industry talents and then work your way back into the industry.
Excellent. So did you ever get your pilot's license?
I did. I was a commercial pilot.
For how long?
Well, only for 4 or 5 years, but The challenge is, I had kids, and I've never gone flying with them because my expenditures go that way instead of
they kept you grounded.
Yes,
yes. That's
literally they kept me grounded.
Yes, that's excellent. Well, is there anything else that you'd like to talk about today? Any highlights that are coming up or anything like that?
Yeah, so something that that will be out in the news is what we call this Geo Futures Initiative, and so something that if you look at the city of St. Louis and the region that we've grown here in this geospatial talent, how do we grow a continued pipeline of talent, of research, of a whole economic movement built around being a geospatial ecosystem? So just putting a stamp on it and saying, hey, we're the geospatial hub of the world is one thing. Actually putting businesses and having metrics brought in around it, beyond just having NGA at the nucleus, but having other tangential industries that are here. The great thing is some of the work that has already been done there's actually been a baseline study that's been done. We're following a similar pattern as to what, from an economic development perspective, what was done 20 years ago. We're a plant life sciences hub here, and that was done in coordination with Monsanto being here, with a lot of what Washington University and the educational systems, and they basically created, in what you see now today in Cortex and what you see in the Danforth Plant Life Sciences Center, of growing incubators and growing up technologies and organizations and companies around that science. We're doing the same with geospatial. So we've done a baseline study that says, hey, what is this industry, what's the potential, and what do we have to bring to it? Those numbers have come out. We'll be sharing those numbers with the community, and there's something here.
Where are the numbers from? Are they just local numbers that you're looking at?
It's regional focus in numbers, but obviously leveraging the industry potential that in the industry numbers that are out there that people have tagged. So GeoBiz and others that have gone out and said, here's what the real geospatial industry market potential is.
And you're leveraging Google search services, et cetera, for numbers. Okay, excellent.
Yep. And so the interesting thing about that is, the next phases are really solidifying, can we take this baseline information and start creating a pathway, a strategic roadmap that's been built around that? And so that's the work that we're going to be doing in this next chapter. Then to start putting a plan in place by late Q1 next year, March, April timeframe, of having a plan out there that's published.
Who all is involved? Sorry for the cutoff. Who
No,
is involved in this initiative?
So in this initiative we have lots of different organizations. So it's a diverse group of organizations and individuals that are involved. Civic organizations from around the city, local government. We have federal government that's involved. We have industry, academia, and then just entrepreneurs or people that have been here and done this before. And so we have people sitting around the table that come from all different backgrounds. Some people don't know geospatial. Some people know geospatial really well. Some people know economic development well. Some people don't.
But it's good to get them together.
Yes, right. and really, all be behind this plan that's being built and validating it, and then ultimately taking that torch and carrying it forward. So things here in St. Louis, if you look at that 20 years ago, this was done, this playbook was developed with Plant and Life Sciences. Just a couple of months ago, Bunge International moved their headquarters from New York City to St. Louis. This was 20 years in the making, having a top 100 company come in and set up their headquarters here in St. Louis. This starts setting the roadmap for not only what geospatial is today and location technologies, but sets a pathway for other location-based or tangential industries to come here and say, hey, we've got the talent. This is a place to be if we want to continue to grow.
And there have been so many stats that have come out in the last couple of years too about the major role that geospatial will play in our AI future, et cetera. So
yes.
It'd be almost foolish not to get into it.
Yep.
Yes.
Absolutely. So that's the big announcement that we have made, is that we're continuing to launch that effort. Hopefully have a report or a roadmap developed by early next year, and then ultimately really carrying that torch forward with St. Louis. And the great thing about it is, from specifically the USGIF or GeoWind perspective, GeoWind is going to be held here for the first time in 2023, and then in 2025 it's going to be back here again, and that's in coordination with the opening of the Into West campus for NGA. So,
which is the largest investment in St. Louis history, from my understanding.
It's one of the largest, yeah.
Okay.
So 1.75 billion. So it's and it's right here in St. Louis. It didn't move across the river. And so this is good for the city, and we just need to make sure we capture this potential that we have here and really continue to grow it forward.
So you mentioned 20 years ago the biotech folks come in and set up, and now you get 20 years later you get a fortune. How fast do you see the geo community moving after this initiative?
Well, yeah. So the interesting part is
You should set that as a pace mark at least, right? I got to beat those biotech guys.
Well, and in the news just recently this week, there was launched. Maxar set up headquarters in St. Louis, one of their outposts here. Just a couple of blocks away from where we're sitting today.
We attended that last night.
Yes.
Actually, there was a mixer there yesterday evening. Nice building, Maxar.
Yes, and so T. Carter, which is a small business supports in GA, is also housed there, and so you're starting to see more organizations that either are not here or they might be based out of DC starting to move this direction and setting up shop. But now once they find the talent and the technical expertise and the pipelines of business that they can set up around here, we're going to see more of those.
Well, it's interesting that you mentioned that too. So we talked about some of the big boys that are coming in here, and then what was the smaller one that you mentioned shares with Maxar?
T. Carter.
T. Carter.
Yep.
Any other interesting small companies that are coming in here as well, or is this just like the first phase of the initiative where the bigger boys are looking because they can afford it?
Well, I think the one thing to point out is we're just at the inception of some of those. So there are some small businesses, and some that are housed here in the T-Rex building where we're sitting today. T-Rex is one of our 2 innovation centers in the city where people are growing and building their businesses.
What's the name of the other one?
Cortex, and they have the Cortex Innovation Community over there. Esri is over there, and they have a innovation center built over there. Here in this building, we have small businesses like Geodata IT. We have other businesses like Planet Federal is located here. But the interesting thing that we also have here is the Geosaurus Center that's opening up. And so they have a innovation space that they're setting up to where they're going to have programming around academic outreach, and university systems are going to be involved and institutions are going to be engaged. And that was actually sponsored by Bayer. Oh. So it wasn't even a government-only thing. And so they're going to have a whole center on the 4th floor just around geospatial technologies and growing and advancing that.
Excellent. That's good to hear that there's some outside players coming in too.
Yes.
That's excellent news.
Yeah, and it's starting to connect those dots and weave the industry that we do have here, because between logistics and agriculture outside of just the Defense Department, we have a lot of geospatial activity going on, which is actually pretty cool.
Mm-hmm. Okay, well, is there anything else you'd like to cover today, Andy?
No.
But that was a lot of news, actually,
Yeah,
so we really do appreciate it. And it's been a warm, welcoming time since we've been here in St. Louis. Appreciate it to all the folks that have hosted us and had us here. Once again, this is Andy, and I'm Mason, and this is Project Geo signing off.